Okay, let's get started. Howdy, everybody, and welcome once again to California District 4 Fall Ball for Blues, November 13th, 2024. This is our second of three Fall Ball for Blues. Our next one will be on Wednesday, December 11th, and that'll be the final one for the year. We also had one back in October. So remember that the meeting is being recorded and it will be posted on our YouTube channel. So your screen image may appear. We ask you to keep yourself muted so there's not a lot of background noise. You can ask questions in the chat, raise your hand either on screen or with the icon. Or we have a small enough group that if you want to unmute yourself at an opportune time and ask a question, that should work too. When we do discuss videos at the end, we can have a little bit more of a free discussion period. So what is tonight's agenda? We're going to have an announcement about upcoming District 4 training plans. A lot of it's coming into place. We have dates and times for most of it now. We have a reminder of regional and World Series application process. Reminder about online umpire resources for the upcoming season. Report on the Little League identification camps that were just held in the Western region a couple weekends ago. And today we're going to have reports from Candido Anicetti and Bill Karpowitz on their 2024 regional experiences. And like always, we're going to end with a video discussion of regional and World Series plays. So let's get started. This is going to be our clinics for the coming year, and we now have dates for these and times. So as you know, we run 4 basic rules clinics. They're about an hour and a half long, 75 minutes for the rules and about 15 minutes for questions. Registration will be required. That registration isn't open yet. But these will be running in February, each time on Wednesday, February 5th, 12th, 19, and 26. And we divide the rule book up into various sections. And at the very end of the last one, we will talk about minor and major division baseball interleague rules. So those are our basic rules clinics. They're designed for really all levels, all divisions of baseball and softball, of basic rules, interference, obstruction. Doesn't matter what division you're in, it's going to be the same. There will be a little bit more emphasis on minor and major baseball with these rules clinics. We have 2 other rules clinics, and we set the time for those. We have a teenage baseball rules clinic that's going to be on Zoom. This is a requirement of coaches, so there'll be a lot of coaches in attendance, but we also want all umpires who are doing teenage baseball to also partake in this. That's going to be Thursday, February 20th at 7 o'clock. And again, registration will be required. That isn't open yet. And then we have a softball rules clinic, and this is for required for softball managers and coaches. It'll be in person. But again, anybody who's doing softball umpiring should attend this. This one is run by myself and Ed Newbegin, and that will be Monday, February 24th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. at the UC Extension Office on Bissell Lane in Concord. And no registration for this one, just show up. So those are going to be our rules clinics. We're also going to have mechanics clinics. And what we want to do is conduct a series of half-day mechanics clinics in selected parts of the district. And what we need is league UICs or presidents to request a date. So if you are a District 4 UIC, start thinking about this and contact myself or Candido anisete and put in for a date. These can fill up, and we will bring out District 4 training staff to help you run that clinic, help you set up an agenda for it, and we can also provide the equipment for that training. And also, in terms of mechanics, we're going to have a 1-day Western Region outreach clinic. It's going to be taught by Western Region instructors and selected District 4 training umpire staff. And that's going to be on Sunday, February 23rd. If it's anything like last year, it should run from roughly 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. This one will be held as like last year in Pinole at Ellerhorst Elementary. So those are our mechanics trainings. We're also going to be offering leagues a Zoom or in-person training for coaches and managers on game management, pre, during, and post-game expectations and behaviors. It's something that we kind of pioneered last year in conjunction with Richmond Little League. I know they've requested it again. And any other leagues who want this, perhaps talk to your league presidents about establishing this. And I think it'll help your season go much smoother if managers and coaches understand sort of what they're supposed to do and what are some of the basic expectations that umpires have of managers and coaches. Okay, I had this up last time we had Fall Ball for Blues. I want to emphasize it again. And this is the 2024 Tournament Umpire Mechanics Grand Series on YouTube. This was organized and created by Stu Hartenstein, and he is the new Little League Director of Umpire Development and Operations. And here is the URL for it. Unfortunately, if you were to search this on YouTube, it would not come up. So you have to know the URL. So there it is. Take your phone out, take a quick picture of this, but also know this will be posted on our YouTube station to look for it. And what we end up with is if you go to that site, you will come up to a series of videos. And these were developed by Stu for this year's regional and World Series umpires, sort of training them. It's something that hadn't been done before. And all of these are very good. Talks about taking advantage of routine plays. That's something you can play before the season starts. It gets you sort of thinking about how can I, in the regular season, begin becoming a better umpire and training myself, getting that muscle memory down, especially as we move into postseason. Then there are a series of videos on the strike zone. And what Stu is bringing to Little League is sort of a different positioning for umpires behind the plate. I'll talk about that in a couple minutes. But also sort of a different philosophy about the strike zone. And these are things that we will be incorporating into our District 4 training. So especially for any of you that are District 4 umpire training staff, please watch these. It'll help you get prepared. Then there's one on style and form of calls. Some of the ways to call various things have changed a little bit. I'll talk about that again in a minute. There's one about peak performance, winning the game within, which is actually very good. And it talks about sort of how to mentally stay in a game. What do you do if you make a mistake? How do you sort of power through that? And then efficient movement behind the plate. This is mostly designed for a 4 umpire crew. It is, in fact, designed for a 4 umpire crew, but there's a lot of stuff you can still take to the 2 umpire crew on that. And then tag plays at the plate and positioning at first, second, and third. Again, these are designed for a 4 umpire rotation, which is something that we try to use as much as we can in the postseason. So these will help you with that. But also, it will very much help you with your two umpire crews and your positioning for those. So, regional World Series applications, if you are interested in doing a regional World Series, that application process is now open and it will close on December 31st. You must be a member of the umpire registry in order to put in an application for a regional or a World Series. And in fact, it's on that umpire registry. That is where you put in your application. So if you're not on the umpire registry, you can't apply. You need to do a background check, and you cannot do a World Series unless you have done a regional. So if you have not done a regional yet, but you're still applying for this, please don't put in a World Series. You're simply not going to get it. You can apply for as many or as few regional or World Series if you're qualified for the World Series. In other words, you've had a regional already as you want. So you'll see that you can apply to just baseball, you can apply to just softball, you can apply to both. You can apply to the Europe and Africa regional in softball and baseball if you wish to travel. You can also check a box where you can be eligible for not only doing not just for doing a regional in the West, but also possibly doing a regional in another U.S. region. What is Little League looking for? Highly performing umpires. And I can say that the days of sort of rewarding somebody who has put in their time, those days are closing and are really coming to a close. And what Little League is looking for in regional World Series are high performing umpires who know Little League mechanics, who are good balls and strike umpires. Also, that you've invested years in training and development. So, steps to take to be considered for selection. So, if this isn't something that you're thinking about now, but it is a goal for you in the future, what should you be thinking about? How should you be preparing about this for the future? Well, umpire as many games as you can in your league, in the district. Be a member of the umpire registry. Attend in-person training events, including any training events that we run in District 4, but also outreach clinics that are run in the Bay Area. Also attend academies or 3-day clinics that are held in San Bernardino. Be seen. That is probably one of the most important things. You're not going to be chosen if you're just a name and nobody can put a face to you and nobody has any idea of what kind of umpire you are. So I would say the best way to be seen is at some point get down to San Bernardino, attend a 3-day clinic or attend the week-long academy. Umpire at the district, section, and state level. Some of you may have done district games, but you want to umpire at higher level games. So that's something that you should contact me when it comes closer to time to the postseason and talk to me about what are your goals. Take feedback well and strive to improve. And I can't emphasize that enough. Always be working with better umpires, always be doing post games, always learning from the games that you've done. If you go to the Little League Umpire Registry, you'll see that this is where the tournament application is. What else do we have here? The Umpire Registry is really good. They have a lot of videos. You can get rule books, etc. here, education, training videos. You can do your background check here. And for preferences, you can highlight all of the leagues in our district, for example. That's something I would recommend that you do. And then be willing to umpire in other leagues. If you've done a regional or World Series, you'll find your evaluations here. This is the Fairball newsletter, which also has some good stuff on umpiring and quizzes. And you can download the rule instruction manual. And this is for 2024. It should be being revised for 2025. And also, there will be links here if you want to register for clinics. The week long was just held, and this one's coming up. I think, as far as I know, nobody from our district attended the week long, and I think I am the only one who will be attending this weekend clinic coming up. So
Hey,
one
Jim.
of,
Hey,
yeah,
Jim.
go right ahead.
So before you jump ahead, maybe I'll
Sure.
offer. So all of that you talked about assumes that you're a volunteer umpire for Little League, right? And just want to remind folks that one of the training things that Jim did not mention is the Little League abuse awareness training, which is required for all volunteers to take that course every season. So it's a new training. If you took the USA Baseball Safe Sports training in the past, that doesn't work any longer. There's a Little League specific training that you can access on the Little League University. And it takes you about 45 minutes, maybe 30, 45 minutes to take the course. And that coupled with you submitting volunteer application and background check, authorization to your local league, those two steps are the precursors to becoming a volunteer for Little League. So just want to, remind folks about that requirement also.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank
Jim.
you, Don. We went over that at the last Fall Ball for Blues of the abuse awareness. I didn't re-include that slide here, but know that, yeah, every year now, you have to take that training after October 1st. And it is required, and I will be periodically, even throughout the season, reminding all of you that you need to do that training. Okay, so identification camps. There's been a lot of talk about these, and it's by invitation, and they're held in each region once a year. West region held two of them on a Saturday and Sunday. Candido Anicete, Ed Newbegin, and myself were the three folks from our district who attended. It's a one-day event in which umpires are graded for plate work, mechanics, rules knowledge. And you're eligible to register for an ID camp anywhere in the US. So if you don't want to do the West, or if the West had filled up, you could have, you know, cost you money, but you could go to the Southwest or the Southeast if you wanted to. But to get invited, you need to do a regional first. But as you know, in our discussion at the last Fall Ball for Blues, uh, Dennis, who is the new Dennis Williams, who's the new UIC for the West region, talked about that there is the possibility that a different ID camp will be developed for those who have not done regional. So if we hear anything about that, we will absolutely get that information to you. And as always, I will be encouraging you to attend those. If they are developed, we will see what happens. The identification camps are more or less, not absolutely, but pretty much required if you want to umpire at the Little League level of baseball and softball at the regional and World Series. That is what we call the majors levels, if you want to do those tournaments.
Hey,
Um,
Jim,
yeah,
question on
yes.
the umpire registry. I know it used to cost money. Now I believe it's free. And do they just automatically renew your registration every year? Is that you don't have to reapply? I just was checking mine and it expires at the end of next month. And I haven't done anything to renew it. So I assume they're just renewing it on an annual basis.
The umpire registry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't think I've ever re-registered for that. And it is free.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure it wasn't something that had to be done because I noticed that on it's, there was that one spot where you could check your current umpire registry certificate, and I did that, and it showed that it expires on December 31st, 2024.
Okay.
But I'm assuming since I registered for the umpire registry years ago, and I don't recall
Right.
doing anything to renew it, that it just automatically renews.
Yeah, as far as I know, it just automatically renews when you go onto the site. It gives you that chance to resave your information or change your information if you have anything. Yeah, it should be in perpetuity. Uh, in fact, we were told that there are approximately now 30,000 umpires who are on the Little League register or on the umpire registry. So these camps are not required for umpiring any other level of softball or baseball, regional or World Series, but it is a way to be seen. And if you do well, it's and graded highly, it's a way to sort of rise up and possibly get a regional or World Series. If you are invited to one, I would highly recommend that you attend in order to be seen. So at this year's camps, what did we do? It was a one-day camp. There was one on Saturday, one on Sunday. I did the Sunday one. We did a virtual reality of calling balls and strikes, which for me was bizarre because I've never had virtual reality glasses on before. And you're behind the plate and you are calling balls and strikes as a pitcher delivers a pitch. We're also graded on locating pitch position by calling out that pitch position location. In other words, not calling balls and strikes, but having a plate that is green and then having different colors emanating out from that and calling what the pitch was over. And this was kind of interesting. I hadn't done that before. We're also graded on style and mechanics for basic base and plate umpire calls. So calling a foul ball, safe ball on the ground, safe foot off the bag, out, calling foul tip, check swing strike, check swing ball, giving a batter hit by a ball first base, all of those. And we were also graded on positioning at first and home. And at first base, we were graded on sort of our positioning behind first base, how far we came out onto the field, and our eye positioning, what were we looking at, and our timing. What did we do when there was an overthrow and a runner was safe? The need to keep an eye on the runner to make sure they don't make a move to second base. At home plate, it was our positioning behind a catcher with a play eminent at home, and then working the rim or working the wedge. We were also given a rules test, 50 questions in an hour that stressed things like interference, obstruction, base awards, batting out of turn, and pitching. And you could choose whether you want to do softball or baseball and softball. The evaluation is based on a simple dichotomy of proficient or doesn't meet Little League standards. So there were probably four different criteria or four different things they were looking at first base. And for each one of those, you were simply graded proficient or doesn't meet Little League standards. And we were divided up more or less into baseball and softball groups. Two groups were mostly all baseball. One group was softball. There were three evaluators. Each evaluator had their own group. There were 400 ID camp spots that were open across the country, and 350 of those were filled. So, in other words, there were 50 empty slots that were not filled. In terms of if you've gone once, should you go again? We were encouraged, more or less, to repeat each year if our individual plans are to umpire at higher level tournaments. Also, if we believe that we can do better by taking the camp again, that we should. And what they pointed to was, are you then taking spots from other umpires? And they pointed to the 350 out of 400 and said no, because we actually had open spots. Some things that we learned from this is there are changes in how Little League expects calls to be made and plate positioning. These are things we're going to be incorporating into our training. We've always talked about the heel toe, heel toe, heel toe. Those days are gone. And we're talking about being square to the pitcher. We're talking about, as we make calls at first base, being closer to the first base line, not achieving a 90-degree angle. Things such as a base umpire calling a foul ball. The expectation now is that we still use the same mechanics of coming up, foul, and pointing, but that we are supposed to take a step and be straddling the foul line as we make those calls. So there's a lot of things that are going to be changing. I'm going to be going down to the 3-day clinic and hopefully pick up on some more stuff that we can incorporate into our training. We were also told that many of the videos, and we know this, on the Little League website are kind of dated. And one of the things that Stu is trying to do is to update those videos. But this is going to be kind of a long-term project. And we probably won't be seeing a coordination of these videos and the new videos probably for at least another year. Another thing that's happening is the collecting of analytical data. And this is part of these identification camps. We were, in a way, umpires that Little League was using to collect data. For example, the rules questions. What Little League is going to use that for is find out, well, what areas are these umpires missing the most questions? How do we then tailor our training to do a better job in those areas? They're also trying to collect analytical data on the calling of balls and strikes. So what we have now is a Little League that's very much more analytically driven, and we're going to be seeing more of that, and it's going to be incorporated more into the training that we see on Little League. Before we start with this, Don, did we have questions, or does anybody have questions?
We have a couple questions, one from Bill and one from Ken. I'll let them, they unmute themselves. They can ask the question.
Sure.
Hey, Jim, so my question is, when you were at the 1-day, or maybe the other people were at the 1-day, did you get feedback, or was it just a grade? And was the feedback immediate while you were calling balls and strikes, or did you get it after you had your session?
We got the feedback a week later when we got our evaluation. So there was no feedback. You're simply watched. You're asked to do, for example, when you're on the plate, you're asked to call, where the pitch was. You're asked to do different kinds of calls, foul tip, etc. And that was it. When we were out on the field and everybody got done doing calls at first base, Stu got on the field and only at that point sort of emphasized the things that they had been looking for. And then we did the plate mechanics. And then again, he talked to us about the things that they had been looking for after we had done that. So It's not a training experience in any way. It's an evaluation process. Do we have another question?
Yeah, Jim, I just, you may have said this already and I might have missed it, but since these are invitation only, what's the process for getting invited, or how is that decided?
If you have done a regional or World Series within the last couple of years, that's how you were invited. So I think last year the invitation was for post COVID umpires who had done a regional World Series. I think maybe possibly they identified a few people also from prior years and asked them. Uh, and then I think that the invitations for this year were for folks who had done regional World Series within the last couple of years. At least
So
that's what we were told.
so that's confusing to me. To you have to have done a regional or a World Series to get invited to be evaluated whether or not you can do a regional or a World Series?
Well, the ID camps at this point are mostly to identify umpires that they want to use at the little league level in both softball and baseball. So the 10 to 12s um, at the regional and World Series level. That's what it is aimed at.
But yeah, it just seems incongruous that you have to have been in a World Series or a regional to be able to get invited to an ID camp to see if you're capable of doing a little league regional or World Series.
That is correct, except they did say that it wasn't an absolute requirement, that there are folks who could get that, invite to that level, the Little League level, who did not go through an ID camp. Um, yeah, and part of it is that you're then seen. You're seen by folks who will also be deciding, the 50, 70 and junior and senior level regionals in World Series. So that's why last Fall Ball for Blues, when Dennis Williams was on here, he talked about the possibility that they're going to expand this, just not right now, but going to expand this to open it up for umpires who have not had a regional or a World Series. Uh, you know, the long story short, they're most concerned with their regionals and World Series that have the most TV exposure. That's the reality. Okay, any other questions before we move on?
Just to reply to Bill about the feedback with the VR sessions, the feedback was immediate.
Yeah, the VR session was. Okay, Candido, since you're on, let's have you talk about your 2024 Senior Baseball Western Regional experience.
Okay, can you give me control? So I can show some
There you go.
pictures. All right, how do I share my screen here? Okay, can everybody see this?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hey, all right. I had a staycation over the summer in our lovely town of Oakland, California, doing the Little League Senior Baseball Western Region Tournament with these 7 fabulous guys. 6 of us were from out of California and 2 from Washington. There were 11 teams at this tournament. All the states you see there except for Alaska and Utah were there. Our amazing tournament staff. were presented near the end of the tournament. And then, so the tournament itself was pretty good. Some, usually in most tournaments, at the beginning of the tournament, the games are, you're always gonna have some weak teams, so you got to deal with that with some blowouts, and we had several of those. Then as the competition starts to thin out, it's lose two and go home basically for the tournament. There were 20 games spread over 7 days. So 2 of the 4 days, 2 of the 7 days we had 4 games, so we each had 2 games apiece, and then 3 of those days we had 3 games, and then there's semifinals and the finals on the last few days. So good competition, good umpiring crews. We had Steve Chrisman as our evaluator that was there, so it was helping us out pretty well. Jim had mentioned, those mechanograms that Stu put out, and I did not look at those videos prior to the tournament. They would have been helpful, but I pretty much did everything already was being taught in those mechanograms. And there were some things that were pointed out to our crews during our post-game evaluations. Here on one of my games where I'm at second base, and this was the recommended position for in the 4 umpire crew, with the runner at first base being in the B position and then being parallel to the third baseline. So you just sort of drop step, take a look, and call the play as the runner comes in. So that's pretty much by the book. And our 2 fabulous UIC and UIC assistant working the games and eating. Gotta show the strike call. Another one of the things in the ID camp, they want you to tone down your strike 3 mechanic. They don't want you, what did he say? Throwing confetti. So if you're gonna go to ID camp, you got to tone that down. One of my plate calls here, working the wedge. This was I'm trying to remember who these teams were here. I think this was a Redondo Beach and I believe Arizona, right? One of the things I got dinged on in my evaluations was being too friendly. This is one of the Oakland players who I've known Marco for a couple of years now because I've done his high school games and I've also done some of the Knoll Soul games. And I'm just standing out there minding my business, and he comes up after the 3rd out of the inning and tells Matt Avery, our official photographer, "Hey, come take a picture of us. Don't get too friendly with the coaches and players at your tournaments." This was my semifinal plate game with these guys. This was between Hawaii and Redondo Beach. Redondo Beach, who ended up winning the tournament, won 5 in a row to take the championship. This was another wedge play. And then this was our finals crew. Alan from Sacramento on the left, Kurt from Davis, and then Anthony from Reading on the far right. So the whole tournament went really well. We had a lot of games, no breaks. We did get to go to 1A's game one night. That was pretty much our break. We had one of the teams, a Wyoming team, that was staying with us at the hotel in Alameda. Great time. If you can definitely do a tournament, definitely sign up for one if you can. That's all I've got.
Do we have any questions for Candido?
None.
Okay. Maybe you could-
I actually do have a quick question for Candido. Candido, I just saw 2 pictures of you standing without giving the Hawaiian AOK sign, the thumb and the pinky. And I'm wondering if you were told to not do that specifically.
You mean when we're doing like a first or third rotation or something like that?
No, when you're just when you're in the picture. Because I know you do that a lot in your photos.
Yeah, only when we're posing for pictures, not during the game.
Cool. Can I ask a question about Chrisman? How was he as an evaluator?
He's good. He'll come straight out to you with things, his thoughts. He's not really there to train, right? He's there to let you know what you did, what you could improve on. The evals were short and succinct, to the point, just a few pointers. He did that with every umpire after each game.
Okay. Thanks.
Hey, Jim, we do have one comment on some stuff that Candido talked about. So, Angel, do you want to bring up your comment?
Yeah, sure. My daughter's playing guitar, so that's why I'm keeping it on me. But I think it's a bummer to hear that they want us to tone down the camaraderie between the youth. I understand they want us to appear impartial. But you guys know me; I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky kind of guy, and I think that just my opinion, but I understand the need to maintain the semblance of impartiality. But at those levels, I feel these kids deserve the fun. That's it.
Yeah, let me comment, since I was kind of the UIC for the tournament. I think it's really difficult. That picture Candido showed of him with the Oakland player, right? So here we are, we're the host. Oakland's the host team, and they have a history of winning in the tournament. And then we have an umpire from the host district, hosting it up, getting friendly with a player from the host district. So poor Candido, maybe a little bit more optics on him than on others, but I think that's part of when we get to these regional tournaments, especially when the winner is going to the World Series, right? It's a little different than your regular season games, that we have, in your own league. So, I guess that's kind of a little bit background on poor Candido. He kind of got caught in a bit of the pressure there. So
Yeah, so I have a comment on that too. So I know Marco, and Marco's actually a really friendly guy. And he's likely to
great kid. Yeah.
Yeah, he's likely to come up to you and say hi, want to talk to you, and fist bump you. So how do we respond in that situation? Do we back off? I mean, I don't want to embarrass somebody in a public situation. I also don't want somebody who is impressionable to feel like we're not approachable. I don't know if there's an answer to that, but it's like, like there are a lot of players that are more than happy to talk to you and will initiate conversation.
Yeah,
Well,
I think small talk is okay. Like between pitches or between plays, if you're there, because you have to be there for whatever reason. I think that's fine. They just don't want you, fraternizing, right, with the players and coaches. So if you're between innings, between plays, just be where you're supposed to be to avoid that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
okay. Let's move on to Bill and your experiences at the European and Africa regional.
Great, thanks. And then I think that you gave me access. I do have it. Just a second here. Let me go. I just want to make sure that everybody can see this. I'm going to go into full screen. Everybody sees the field?
Yep.
Great, thanks. So I was I asked to be an official at the junior senior softball Europe Africa regional, and it's in right now it's in Czech Republic, and this was their second year, and next year they have it in Prague. My understanding is that every country can apply for 3 years, and so I did their second of 3 years. They did it in Ostrava, which is in the northeast corner of Czech. It's actually very close to Poland, probably about an hour away from Poland. And this is an overview of what that field looks like. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Czech Republic, Czechia, has a love of baseball and softball, like a huge, huge love. And so you see the baseball, it's marked A. That is a minor league field. Like that field would look perfect anywhere in the United States as a minor league field. The two softball fields are great softball fields. There's I don't know if you can see my cursor, but near B1 and A2, I'm sorry, near the number B1 where it says batting cage, it's a solid batting cage. It's also, they have a nice dugout there, and they also have stands right there too. And S2, the other softball field, has stands in the sort of like the blue area. It's not as finished as S1. What we did is, because there were only 4 teams for the senior league, they played at S2, and then the teams that we had for junior, they played at S1. It just made more sense. This baseball B was used as a practice field for anybody who needed to use it, and all teams were also able to use baseball A. What they did was they put a temporary fence out, 2 temporary fences out behind, sort of in the outfield, and then there was a walkway in the middle, and fans could stand there. So this is what the place looks like. There's a restaurant here. There's sort of a memorial station right here, which talks about other players from the Czech Republic. And we also had a very nice locker room up on the 2nd floor. So this is actually, it's a pretty nice field. Arrows Ostrava is a club, and there are a lot of these types of clubs around Czech Republic. And I think that, I know that Don was in Czechia in around the same time that I was there. He probably did his work at some place similar. And so these are the teams. For the seniors, we had 4 teams: Netherlands, Sweden, Italy, and Czech. And for juniors, we had 2 Czech teams, 1 from Prague and 1 from Moravia, Poland, Italy, and then 2 from the Netherlands. That is, sorry about that, parentheses, Kennemerland is how it's pronounced in Brabant. And it was, honestly, except for Sweden and Poland, it was pretty high quality ball. Like, everybody was really good, and everybody could have moved on and gone into the finals. Sweden knew going in that they weren't going to be very good, and they did this really great thing with their players. They had a bingo card, and every player had their own bingo card, and every time they did something on the field, they got to check something off. There was a game where one player who didn't play very much got a single, and everybody in the dugout cheered because she got a line on her bingo card. And it was actually like a great way to keep the kids involved, and a great way for them to experience it. I mean, they got wiped out every game. I think that every one of their games ended up in a mercy rule. Like, I'd be surprised to find that any of them didn't. But it was just such a great way to coach the kids. Poland also, again, another not a very good team. When we did the draws at the beginning for who was going to be a visitor or home team, they always chose visitor. At the time, I was talking to a couple of the other umpires, wondering why, and we realized it's because they didn't want to play another 3 outs. Like they just didn't want to do another half inning. They knew what their team was. So Italy in the junior team, that team went to the Little League World Series last year. I don't know where they finished up, but I mean, they came out of essentially the Europe Africa tournament and went there, and so they had high hopes for this year too. It was surprising how good the ball was overall. I was really happy about that. These are the officials that we had. You'll see, so the 2 from the U.S. all the way on the left is Matt Dawson, and then right next to him is Rob Adams. Rob Adams or Rob Brown? Now I can't remember. But Matt is from Maryland, and Rob is actually from California. So if you've been down to any district events, he's probably been there. I know that he went to the umpire weekend or the umpire breakfast right before Little League. Next to Rob is John, who is actually from the Netherlands, but he lives in Poland, but he did represent the Netherlands. I don't know why I have a scowl on my face, but I do. And then these other 5 officials are from Czech Republic. Now, I want to highlight something. So these 2 at the end, and also the guy with the red glasses, very young, very green. And so we had 4, 5, 6 umpires who had a lot of experience. And then we had one umpire who came in and only was able to work 2 days. He was there because they had lost somebody. Pavel is his name. And I know that Ed knows him. I'm sure that a lot of you have heard of him. He's really a great umpire, very solid, has done a lot of different things. In fact, I think that he's worked World Series, if I'm not mistaken. So very solid. John right here from the Netherlands in Poland. He's also come and worked a World Series. I think that he did junior softball, and he may have done junior baseball also in Taylor, Michigan. So really a lot of experience here. Again, we had a few young people, a few green people. This is the Netherlands team. This is the senior Netherlands team. They ended up going to the U.S., and you can see this is right after they won. They're obviously pretty excited. Jim, I know that you did this tournament. Did you have any of their games?
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Yeah.
So I can tell you that I thought that they were very well coached. I thought, like going in, it really was between them and Italy to see who was going to go to the final. And you could tell after the first couple of games, they ended up playing Czech Republic in the final and beat them. And it went into extra innings. It was a very close game. They were really excited, a great group of people, and great coaches too, like coaches who really care about the players. And then this is the team that came out of the junior, and this was Czech Prague. So Czech had 2 teams. This was Czech Prague. From the beginning, clearly the class of the bunch. This is their coach right here, their head coach. She has played softball for a very long time, and I think that she leads another team, like maybe a semi-pro team in Europe. Their team was disciplined and well coached. They ended up winning the World Series. They basically ran the table. They went 7-0 in Kirkland, and they deserve it. They were really a great team. It's kind of I guess bragging a little bit. It's kind of fun to be able to say that I actually called some games for the team that won the World Series. I think that was really a cool thing. Netherlands didn't win. I think they went 2-3, and they may have made it to the quarterfinals. The senior league was won by the Central Division, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
But it was honestly, I just want to highlight that it was really great ball. And then there's some key takeaways here. The first takeaway is that we had some great hosts. The Czech administrators were fantastic. They were very responsive to everything. They helped us out wherever needed. Our lodging was in a dorm, offsite, along with quite a few of the teams, most of the teams, I think. We were in separate sections of the dorm, so we never really saw them unless we were all coming in or going at the same time. But they were really great hosts. We had very, very nice accommodations. I recommend them as hosts. I know that they're doing it one more year. I don't know what's happening after them. The facilities were really great. Laney College is a great field. I really love that field. I think that this one is probably just a step up because of the work that they put into it to make it more of a professional facility. And Laney College still has some college aspects of it. Like I said, the Arrows facility could easily be dropped in anywhere in the United States as a minor league facility. One negative is that they needed a UIC. We did not have an evaluator or an umpire in chief. A couple of us who were a little bit more experienced, including John from the Netherlands, took it upon themselves to sort of build a schedule of when the umpires would be officiating and what teams they would be officiating. Some of that was accepted, some of it wasn't. And we didn't know why that was the case. Near the end, the chief administrator Wojtek, chose Rob, me, and John to work the junior final, and then John dropped out, and Matt Dawson worked the senior final. So instead of having 4-person crews, we had 3-person crews for that. Some of that had to do with the fact that there was very little, there was no evaluation, and there was no training along the way. Don can probably tell you this, but the Czech umpires have a different way of working a 3-man crew, and it, like, I worked it a couple times with them because it was a Czech plate umpire and they asked me to. I understand why they're doing it that way. They'll never get into a U.S. regional or a U.S. World Series working it that way. And because we didn't have a UIC, because we didn't have an evaluator, they're not going to get any. They didn't get any training really, except when we talked to them about it. And they also didn't get a lot of feedback, which I think is something that everybody deserves at these regionals. One way that is potentially going to be fixed, I talked to Wojtek about this when I was there, and it's possible that I'll go to Prague next year to be a UIC. I applied to go to the tournament again. I'll see what happens. I think that they make the final decision about all that. So that actually was a negative, and I think that it did sort of like bleed in. Like, we did have a green crew. We had a couple of Czech umpires who probably were 22 and 23 and were seeing this as an opportunity to get a date. I had to talk to one of them and say, don't do that. Another one clearly had given somebody something to smoke. I don't know exactly what it was, but I had to tell him to go get it back from her. And this was a junior player, so whatever that is, 14, 15. One of the young players, pretty sure, and I talked to some of the older umpires, we're pretty sure that he had a couple of beers before he went out on the field. And we had very hot weather, very humid weather, and he dropped in the 3rd inning. And the guy on 3rd had to come in and get his plate gear on. I went out and actually took over 3rd base because I was still in my clothes. And the umpire who dropped did not look good at all. These are things that I think probably wouldn't have happened if we had a UIC around. Another takeaway is, and for this, I actually want to thank Jim for everything that he did to help get me ready. He knew that I was going. I talked to him about it. And as often as possible, I said yes when he assigned me to a junior, senior softball game here in the district. And it helps a lot. It really gets your chops up. I know that Candido did some high school baseball games over the year. If you're going to a regional of any sort, do as many of those games at that level as possible. It's just going to help get you ready for what's happening there, and it just actually makes it. I think that overall it probably makes it a lot more fun. That's it. Those are the only slides that I had. Happy to answer any questions. Thanks, Don. Don, I'm curious. Did you have a like a minor league field? I can't remember what your field was like, or was it a club field?
It was a club field. It was a socialist era club field complex, probably. And we had a UIC. We were lucky. It was a regional UIC. And he was bitching that no other UICs got assigned to any other tournaments. So he was going to fix that. So, but Bill, it's, as I said last meeting, these are great opportunities for everybody to go and experience different cultures. But it's Little League baseball and softball all around the world. It's played within the confines of how those countries operate their baseball and softball federations, but somehow they play Little League. It's really, it's great. So especially in Czechia, right, with the South and the North, and then Prague in the middle. It's the teams are great.
Yeah,
those Dutch teams. Those Dutch teams, as Jim knows, those guys are so much fun. The fans are awesome, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's also it was cool for me to see how many of the teams had fans travel. Italy and Netherlands, those stands were packed whenever their teams were playing. Of course, Czech because they were local, but it was just so great to see that. It's like these people like went out of their way to come to these games, and so that was actually it was encouraging. And like I said, except for a couple of teams, most of the time it was really really good ball. And there was some managers who like I know the Netherlands manager for the senior league certainly, who were excellent at tactics. Like they knew what to do in what situation, and it was that part of it was kind of unexpected because I don't like maybe it's just me being blind or naive to it, but I wasn't expecting that from Europe.
Yeah, I found that at the World Series, Netherlands had uh, almost as many fans as some of the other U.S. teams. I mean, they traveled with them. They were a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, let's go over to some okay, let's talk some video plays. So again, just a reminder, purpose of this is to learn from the good, the bad, and the ugly. We all make mistakes. This is not picking on any umpire. And as we all know, any one of us could end up in a video going, oh my God, why did they do that? Not going to get personal. What we're going to try to emphasize here is what was done right, what could have been done better. So we're going to start with a World Series rotation. And I think one of the things that what Stu brought to Little League this year is if you watch the games at the regional and World Series level is I think the rotations were much better than they have been in the past. That doesn't mean that there weren't mistakes made, and we're going to see one right here. But I think we saw a lot better rotations, a lot fewer where we had bases that there was no umpire at. So here what we have is this is Little League Baseball. We have one out and we have a runner at first and second, and we're going to have a fly ball hit down the left field line. So what should our rotation be here? This will be a fly ball to the left field line. What should we have happen with runners at first and second?
Second base slides in, covers second and third.
Okay. As U3 goes out, what about U1 and the plate umpire?
They stay.
They stay. Okay, so let's see what happens here. We'll see it twice.
Whoops.
That play forced U1 because the plate umpire went up. U1 wasn't expecting that. It had to scramble down to grab that safer out at home. I don't think there was a play there, but it looked he was running while that guy was crossing the plate.
Isn't this the one where there was an appeal at home plate as well?
Not on this play.
No, it was similar, but not the same one.
Yeah, so this is one where plate umpire should have stayed home. maybe he does a lot of big diamond, and he was thinking that with fewer than 2 outs, what he needed to do was go up and cover third base on a fly ball caught with a runner tagging at second, going to third. But any which way, should not have ended up there. But let's look at some things that these umpires did very well too. So the ball is hit, and we get a very quick reaction from U3. So there's really not any hesitation. And she just busts out along the line. So that was really good of uh, U3. If we look at U1, we see that U1 does exactly what they're supposed to do, comes to point of first base. There's going to be a tag up at first base, so he lines up the catch and the runner. So he does that very well. Then we have U2, who immediately seeing U3 goes out, busts in because he is responsible for the tag up at second base. So he's in there and gets all lined up. He can see the catch, he can see the runner. And so he does that well. He might overextend a little bit too far here because remember, he's responsible actually for second and third. So maybe stopping right here and turning, doesn't know yet where the play is going to be. So he may over rotate a little bit there. Okay. And then we have that plate umpire who comes up, and sort of compounding the mistake is this right here, where he almost becomes a part of the play.
Word.
So one of the things on this 4 umpire crew that you want to do is, if you're going to come up to third, you want to come up in this area here and get there as quick as you can. It isn't a question where you're going to be reading the play from the library. You want to get up here because now you're out of the way of that runner and you can adjust to any kind of play you're going to make there. So then, as I think Bill pointed out,
Jim, was the ball caught?
the
I-
ball
you
was
can't-
caught.
Okay.
Watch the batter. He's going to slam his bat down right there. So ball was caught. Everybody tagged up. As plate comes up, yeah, you see U1, who's actually supposed to stay there, becomes really a crew saver. And was late getting down there, but didn't expect to have to get down there. But he did get down there, which was good in case a following runner came home. So I thought that was sort of the exception to the rule, that mostly you saw good rotations at the World Series. Any other comments on this play before we move on? Okay. So we're going to see a couple angles of this. So this is also at Williamsport. And here we have no runners on, and there's going to be a fly ball out to right field. So if U1 goes out on that, what should the rotation be?
Well, I think I remember from years ago, but I know they changed these around lately, so I'm probably wrong at this point. U2's got to come in, and home plate umpire comes up, would have any play that if the runner came back into first base and was watching and would be watching the tag, U2's got the batter runner coming into second base, and U3 is hanging around third base in case something happens there.
Okay, that what you described is exactly what we used to do 2 years ago.
Yeah, so I'm saying, I mean, I haven't, it's probably changed now.
Yeah, it has. So one of the changes with this is that now, if U1 goes out, plate stays at home. U3, as you said, stays at third. U2 needs to come in, and U2 is the one who's responsible for both first base and for second base. So let's see how this develops. So we'll see two views of this. Okay. So what happened to U2? Ball goes out, U1 goes out. If you can see, this is U2 right here. And we end the play with U2 came all the way over to first base and stayed there. And I can only imagine he's sort of looking back and going, uh-oh, there is nobody at second. And fortunately, there wasn't a play, but had that runner gone farther and then come back, there could have been a throw to second, there could have been a play. So I don't know if he was expecting U3 to somehow rotate over to second, but this was an over rotation. So one of the things with the four umpire crew is if you have to cover two bases, one of the things to do is to get sort of deeper and in between. And at that point, you can make your decision of where that play is going to be and where you need to go. So again, kind of an exception there.
That's a that was an interesting decision on YouTube because is there any mechanic where somebody at U2 would go towards first base? Wouldn't they always try to cover first and second?
Correct. There would be no instance where they would be going over and only covering first base. Perhaps just a brain fart. And we've all
Oh, hey,
had.
Jim. So
Yeah.
Jim, on this, right? We're talking about the 60-foot diamond here, right? So
Correct.
I think the mechanics on the big diamond on this play, the movements are slightly different depending upon with no runners on, but for this size field, yeah, what we're talking about is correct.
Yeah. So just something to think about. If we're doing four umpire crew and you have to cover two bases, go into a working area that's closer to the pitcher's mound and sort of split the difference and try to figure out which way the play is going to go. Okay. So here we have runners at first and second, and we're going to have a ball hit to the outfield, and we'll see how this one develops. We'll see it again.
that a 4-man crew?
This is a 4-umpire crew, correct?
So
So
did you two go out on that?
Yes, you two did go out on that. So if you see U1 and U2 sort of do a little dance. U1 turns and is going out. U2 is turned and is going out. U2 is the quarterback, so U1 defers. However, who actually should have taken this ball on the outfield?
Looks like you won. He was coming to the line.
Absolutely. So U2 sort of was over aggressive. It should have been U1's, but since U1 saw U2 go out, U1 did the correct thing and corrected and came back. So now what does U3 do?
Yeah, where is U3?
Jim, if I could say
Yeah.
something,
Sure.
in my junior regional 4-man crew, we were told U1 would have anything within 10 feet of the foul line. Otherwise, U2 has everything else. So how they instructed us. Anything close to the line, U1, but otherwise, U2 takes everything. Same thing in third. 10 feet, the line umpires take it, otherwise U2 takes it. So maybe you guys were told something different.
The Little League came out with its mechanics for this year. So
Okay.
this year it was that if the ball or if the fielder is turning towards the line, then that would be one of the U1 or U3. Straight in or straight out will be U2.
So in this situation, because U2 went out, U3 abandoned the base, and the plate umpire didn't go up. And that's why there was nobody at that base to really see what happened. And I couldn't see where U3 was, where they were when they made the call, if they were the ones who made the call. Would you have expected U1 to go in so that U3 could stay where they're at in this situation?
No, because there's runners in scoring position, plate is going to be locked at home plate. U1 is locked at first base. And since U2 went out, U3 comes in and covers both second and third base.
Which is what it looks like he did, but he didn't get himself in a position to make the call at third base, it didn't look like.
Right. So here we have U3 has come in. He's split the difference. Don't exactly know where the play is going to be at this point. He's responsible for both that runner at third and that runner at second. He could be a little bit deeper. But what is his sort of cardinal sin here?
Just the ball.
Chest to ball. So see, the ball is coming in to the catcher. Ball is caught. The umpire, U3, has his back to the play. And actually, I don't even know if he knows where the ball is at this point.
Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, because he's looking back at second base.
So he's looking at second. Now he turns his head. And I think what we have here is an oh crap moment. And he's sort of backpedaling. And now he realizes this is where the play is going to be. And so that's where he's calling the play from that position there. And it's a very close play. And so that's why when we go on, you can't see him in the frame. Plate umpire is doing a good job of being a second set of eyes here.
But he doesn't have the angle either, right? I mean, because he truly doesn't have an angle.
Yeah, I mean, it would be hard for him.
It's challenging for everyone there. Yeah.
Absolutely. So if third base umpire could have come more over into this area, would be able to see not only the tag, but that hand coming in. This one was challenged, and the third base umpire made the correct call. He called safe, and it was upheld. So in a way, got a little lucky on that one. Okay. Can't even remember what happens here. Let's watch this video. Okay, we got the World Series again. Little League. Do we have anything or don't have anything?
Unsportsmanlike conduct.
Okay, so why do you say that?
Oh, the runner just starts sliding late and doesn't try to avoid hitting, I guess, just appearances,
No,
right?
he just slides in.
Yeah,
His
you're
leg
right.
so high.
That looked like baseball to me.
So he slides into the base. He clearly reaches the base with his feet.
A poor slide, though, right? I mean, that's not how you train kids to slide. I mean, well, anyway.
But how many kids slide the proper way?
Oh, let me tell you, we're still teaching our kids how to slide sometimes. I guess you could call it an out, but that
Well,
looks a
he's
little
out
bit-
on the force. He's out
He's out on the force.
on the force. No, can you call interference? That's the question.
No.
That looks like baseball to me. Call him out and then indicate safe that there's nothing, you got nothing else there.
Yeah.
I actually think I would call it interference because the second base player could not do anything and really ended up falling on him. I would have a double play personally.
They both have a right to get to that bag. I mean,
No.
you'd have to say that runner was purposely trying to take him out versus just slide into second base.
Yeah, but aren't we protecting the defensive player at that point?
Not on a throw.
Yeah.
On a hit ball, yes. A throw, no.
Unless you rule it was intentional, but this wasn't. So
Yeah, this was ruled good hard slide, slid into the base, and he's out.
Didn't have his feet up in the air, didn't try to reach for anything to try to impact other than just slid into the base.
Okay.
Baseball.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that it was a good slide. It was just my thing is, like continuing on and making, the second baseman wasn't able to make a throw. I understand. I personally would have protected the defense on that one, but I could see how somebody would argue that.
Yeah, in high school, if you overslide, you can call interference.
But not part of the Little League rule book.
Nope.
But
Ken, you're muted.
I unmuted. Candida, would you have called that an overslide in high school?
You could.
Yeah. You can call anything you want, but I mean, if the guy had continued and it basically came to a stop all the way on the other side of second base, I'd say you got an overslide, but that isn't really what happened.
Well, let's watch one more play. We're actually running out of time here. So let's watch one more play. Again, a similar situation. R1, ball hit, and let's see what happens here. Do you have anything here?
The runner,
And you can watch the progression on the top row down to the bottom row of what happens.
the runner
The
doesn't
run-
have to slide, right?
Runner does
No,
not
and the
have
runner
to.
just can't disappear either.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
Yeah,
The-
I don't
the
either.
four setters-
The runner
four
didn't move
setters.
into anybody's space. He just continued on a straight line.
So there's contact that's made right here.
But isn't the runner moving out towards the outfield? So then that'd just be a force out at second. And the momentum of the shortstop takes him into the runner. So it'd just be that I would see just the one out at second base.
Any others? I think Don might remember what,
Can you
Oh,
run the
Eric?
video one more time?
Eric, were you going to say something?
No, it's all right. Go ahead, run the video again.
Oh, so maybe Don remembers what happened on this play, but manager came out. I think the manager came out. This was appealed and it was called interference by R1 and it was declared a double play.
Right. I think the important thing, Jim, is, right, so we look to the guidance we have. The fielder has to expect that the runner is moving directly towards the base.
Mhm.
And at all times, right? The runner's not going to disappear from that path by judgment of directly to the base. So what I see here is two very smart baseball players. That fielder knows that if they move into the path of the runner, they might get an interference call. And then the runner is running and creates kind of this interference with, and then is going to argue, oh, I was getting out of the way. So sneaky 12-year-olds, right? But I think that's probably why it was ruled the way it was. The runner was not moving directly towards base, and the fielder had completed the out on that runner already, and now is attempting to put out the following runner and is interfered with by that R1, right?
So would you say he's not heading directly to the base?
That's what I see. I see him veering off in towards the outfield.
He's trying to get out of the way. That's
Yeah,
what
he,
he's
he
trying.
kind of goes to his right to get out of the way.
Yeah.
Like I said, two smart players creating the situation.
So this is our rule instruction manual. And when a runner is moving towards second base on a double play ball, there is no requirement for the runner to slide. The fielder must expect the runner to be there. As long as the runner is moving toward the base, there would generally be no interference. If sliding into second base, the runner must be able to reach the base with a hand or a foot. If the sliding runner is not able to reach the base with a hand or a foot, and in the umpire's judgment, the slide caused the second baseman not to complete the double play, call interference and get the out at first base also. If the batter or a runner continues to advance after they have been put out, we have that situation here, they shall not by that act alone be considered as confusing, hindering, or impeding the fielders. If contact between the runner and fielder occurs after the ball is released, there would be no interference. So this was an interesting one, and there was another play, I think maybe even that same game or a game after it where almost the identical play happened and interference was not called. So interference is in the eye of the umpire.
Yeah. So Jim, in this one that was overturned, according to that bullet point or chevron point 3, it was overturned because it was considered that that runner did do something confusing, or he hindered, or he impeded the fielder.
That he
Right.
made that the fielder made contact with that runner.
Okay. Okay.
So also note that nowhere in this rule does it say intentionally hinders or impedes a following play.
Yep.
Unlike other interference calls that require some require intentional acts.
Okay, we have gone over our time, and folks, I appreciate that you stuck around for this. We will have one more fall ball for Blues, and that'll be on Wednesday, December 11th. And that will be at 7 o'clock also. You need to pre-register for that to be able to attend. We want all of you here. We are going to have reports from 2 of our umpires who were at the what is her name? Maria Pepe Invitational baseball tournament for women, girls at Williamsport. And we will have a report on that, and we will have more video plays. So thank you folks for showing up. Thank you for sticking around, and we will see you out on the field.
Thanks.
Jim,
Thank you,
thank
Jim.
you.
Thanks,
Thank you, Jim.
everyone.
Yep,
Thanks, Jim.
you're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Jim.
Absolutely, Mark.